Same company?
Yeah, CMG, yeah, Cox.
Wow.
Very, very polished on-air personalities, like, you can tell, like, just more, you know, the other stations are great, but like, just that, like, you can tell there's a look, there's a sound, you know what I mean?
Verbatim.
Yeah.
That's,
You
wow.
know how you know how Glenn always says, with your weekend in view, they say, with your weekend always in view, it's like, the machine is telling you what to say.
Everybody's drinking out of the same trough, lapping it up.
Right. The verbiage is the same. One of the reporter got here and said, that's something that's what I'm working on when I see you back here in the next hour. I'm like,
The robotics.
say this, stand here.
Who's their parallel universe Tony Thomas? What's he look like?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't see that. I did see our Justin Farmer there though. We have a Justin Farmer.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
So what's their mix like? Do they have like the same 4, 5, 6 and different like
And I think they have a 7 o'clock.
coming in?
I think they have a 7 o'clock if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Get an anchor switch up. The anchor switch up.
Okay. Interesting part.
Yeah, I do too. Well, a lot of Vietnamese anchors do there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
That makes sense.
I turned to one station. I think it was the Fox Pavilion. 2 Asian anchors. I never seen that in my life.
Wow. Okay. Asian population is
Really high.
See, you got to pee.
Gotta be.
not all the time.
They have a Chinatown, which is mostly Chinese and Vietnamese.
Okay.
Yeah, and so,
That's
it's a lot. I usually don't go to something I never saw before, so when I saw that, I was like, wow, you know? So yeah, we definitely have a live desk. We don't know if it was live, which is annoying. So I kept asking like, but he's not live. I kept looking at him like, he's not live, so why does it say live desk? It really annoyed me. I could tell it wasn't live, I could tell it was fake. So then why you got a live desk then? It just means.
Because of the beach staying alive. Staying alive. They're staying alive.
You know how we have WSB Gets Real? They have Northwestern Washington Gets Real. It's everywhere.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Then it was like New York part of the trip too.
Yeah, but I'm from New York, yes.
Okay. Nice trip.
Thank you. I think I needed it.
Oh, good.
Well, it's because you're I was in Seattle for 4 days and I was in New York for 5 days.
You're ready to
So
rock and roll.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Let's do it.
Okay.
that is to turn the
And vice versa. Even though I need
the audio's live. Yeah, thanks.
But you've been good. You look good.
Thank you. I've been trying to hold on. Hang it in.
Aren't we all? A chicken wing and a prayer. Chicken wing and a prayer.
See my lens. Everything goes up. I saw it. Back focus just got.
So they got us, they got me a desk up there by Suzanne, around the corner, across from Zach's.
Nice.
So like Zach walked out his front door, I was right down, very in where I'm sitting.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there, which is good. Because not a warm body in your newsroom.
I didn't want to more about
I know he's gonna be.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yes.
but yeah, close enough to, I need to walk in, find out some stuff.
It's like a prayer. It's like a prayer. I pray every morning. I said, Lord, hide me in the shadow of your wings. In the shadow of your wings. I don't want there to ever be like, oh, there's Audrey. I know. Let's send her to Congress.
That's it.
It's 5:35. Let's send her to Congress.
And the wing comes over.
Yes.
There goes the shadow.
There goes the shadow. We don't even see her. Who can we send?
She's hidden.
Yes, maybe a night sighter. That makes more sense.
Because we're having some good. Because we're having something.
Right.
Yeah, man, that's
Yeah.
we got that age, man. That's just so much big coming too.
You think? got me better than you.
Somebody's,
You think I should be sick or something?
Yeah.
Make it artistic. Make it artistic.
Okay, okay.
Oh, boy.
I have no idea. Somebody's tapping you on your shoulder over there.
That's a lot.
I was like crazy. I was like, I thought something was like cheaper than actual silver.
do this liquor thing, man.
Because sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. You don't need sick. Find out regular for everything.
Thank you.
Well, I thought that you
I'm sorry, I got 301. I'm sorry. All right, so you guys don't know.
Run something hard today, so I don't know if I'm going to because they sent 1,000 of them. So,
Are you sure?
okay.
Trying to give you your love, give you your flowers. Just trying to make sure you want Yes, the viewers feel is
Oh, yes, it is.
Hey, see.
Just gonna make it work.
Sorry about this morning. I told him to come get the live view last night. Come on down. About 9:30.
Okay.
I didn't know when you texted me. I was already cool. Oh my God, he says, having problems.
Look, Wayne, if they told my car.
I'm actually at a news conference right now. Do you mind if you call in a little bit?
That's how I know you're sorry.
Was she,
You can say all you want to
was it on bond or like a quick?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure over there right
You
now.
got your
Yeah, I think that was.
I'll call that.
She's already out.
Seattle. Oh, I thought you said where you been. Carol?
I guess you're breaking about my brother.
No.
That's something that you're so active.
So she usually comes down, the other part comes down.
Trying to get everything. She didn't recognize it. All your paperwork done.
My grandma's over there. For the
it's like a low.
The oldest.
Again, I'm really sorry.
That's detailed, because this list is dense. What's the name? That's the truth right there. I need them kind of high. I'm gonna send everything.
That's all.
All right, good morning, and thank you all for being here. Want to talk today. We're here to have a conversation about some of the great work that has been going on by APD to crack down on violent crime in our city. You may not realize that the Atlanta Police Department's homicide unit exceeds the national standards in closing these cases by arrest. To date, they have closed 72% of homicide cases by arrest. You'll hear more about that from Chief Rodney Bryant in just a moment. The national average is 54%, and we're at 72% already. But I want to stress to the would-be offenders out there that if you think you want to commit a crime in this city, you may want to think again, because we have our eyes on you, and you will be caught. Thanks to our Phoenix Air Unit, which is APD's helicopter unit, APD has been able to track down car thieves very quickly. We've made some significant arrests, and now those car thieves are actually under arrest. And we've talked a lot, you heard me talk a lot about technology and cameras. Connect ATL is a system that allows businesses to connect their security cameras to the APD's video integration camera system. So if you are a business in this city, we want to make sure that you continue to look into the Connect ATL plan so that you can connect your video surveillance system to ours. And APD will be able to see a crime in progress in real time. So if you are someone who wants to rob a place, or you're a criminal that wants to do some activity, just know that these businesses and APD have their eyes on you. Now, we know that many of the criminals that APD encounters are actually repeat offenders, and you're going to hear a lot about that today. That is why we are encouraged that our partners at the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, Fonnie Willis, and the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Pat Labatt, are setting up a repeat offenders unit to stop serial criminals from committing further crimes. We also know that there is a backlog of cases pending that go back even before the pandemic. To address this, we will be announcing a Court Watch program real soon, where residents can view cases making their way through the system. This allows them to be able to see the trial, see the cases, but also it allows judges to see that community members and victims care, and they understand that they want to see good sentencing as it relates to violent crime. So stay tuned for much more on that program and others in the weeks to come, and how you as a participant you as a citizen can participate in our safety outcomes. I'm going to turn it over to Chief Bryant in just a moment, but I want to take a moment to talk about street racing. This is a problem that is plaguing our entire metropolitan area. It's not just happening within the city limits of Atlanta. We're not going to tolerate it, and as you can see, we are cracking down on all crimes. And this crime is one that plagues us and our infrastructure. A couple of weeks ago, we had a case where individuals vandalized the crosswalk at 10th and Piedmont, this rainbow crosswalk that has been a symbol of hope for everyone in the city. Thanks to ATL DOT, this crosswalk was cleaned up within a day. And then it happened again, back to back. Each time our units were out there immediately cleaning up that crosswalk. Now, there are deterrents that I've placed in place to make sure that people who are doing donuts on these crosswalks can't do that anymore. This is a good example of a whole of government, a comprehensive approach to this type of solution. So kudos to our teams who worked hard to get that crosswalk back to its beautiful rainbow state. I've said this before, that fighting crime takes all of us working together. We are continuing to expand our force with 2 new classes of recruits in training right now. And Chief will talk about a recruiting effort that's taking place this weekend in Buckhead at Lenox Square Mall. Right now, I'm asking that those who want to join this force to please do so. We have one of the best police departments in all of the nation, and we are looking for quality men and women to join us and to join the citizens of Atlanta in making sure that this community is safe. So now I'll turn it over to Chief Rodney Bryant. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor. The mayor touched on a few points that I think I need to address. One, the area of repeat offenders. Repeat offenders continue to be a challenge in the city of Atlanta. As the mayor stated, just last week, we arrested over 20 offenders that had 3 or more felonies, which we deemed to be repeat offenders. These repeat offenders had a total of 553 previous arrests, 114 of those being felonies. These are the challenges that the men and women of the Atlanta Police Department face, as well as the citizens who are victimized by these individuals. 7 of the repeat offenders had already been released on bail by the time the police report was generated. 5 were in possession of firearms at the times of their arrest and charged with possession by a convicted felon. 3 of the 5 were released on bail by the time the report was written. So that gives you an idea of what we are facing in just 1 week in the city of Atlanta. The mayor stated about the repeat offender unit that is in partnership with the Atlanta Police, Fulton County Sheriff's Department, Fulton County DA's office, as well as the Department of Community Supervision. We believe that this will streamline our ability to connect with the different departments and target offenders more aggressively, letting them know that we are watching them, giving our men and women on the street the resources to identify them better, giving the courts more information to convict them better. Street racing. As the mayor stated, the street racing in the city of Atlanta, though we are starting to see some of those incidents subside, it continues to be a problem that plagues our city and our region. We're working more aggressively with our partners over at the Georgia State Patrol and every surrounding agency, deploying more additional resources throughout the weekend when we recognize these street races tend to take our streets. A number of arrests have been made, and we'll go back to posting those arrests on our website. Gang activities. The gang activity in our city of Atlanta and throughout our state continue to be a problem as well. And so I'm committed to increasing our gang task force as our personnel rises as we get them out of our police academy. I think that gangs are contributing to upwards to 70% of the crimes that we're seeing inside the city of Atlanta as well as the state of Georgia. And as we become more aggressive in targeting them through the level of enforcement as well as intelligence, we're putting them on notice as well that their activities will not be tolerated in our city. And then I'd be remiss if I did not bring up the incident that happened in our Beltline shooting on 2 weeks ago. The men and women of the Atlanta Police Department worked very diligently to get this information and to resolve this case. It is through strong dedication and commitment that they were able to bring this case to a close so quickly, but not just through their work, but through the infrastructure that we have through utilizing surveillance throughout our city. Additionally, when the community came together and started bringing forth information, that also allowed us to bring this case to a close quite quickly. Now, we understand that there are still 2 people out, and we have an elite fugitive team that will be tracking them down. Again, we want people to understand that the city of Atlanta is not the place where you come and commit crime. When you come and we see that there's an issue inside the city, we respond very aggressively. We'll continue to do so. The mayor talked about our classes that we'll be putting through the academy. Our recruitment efforts are ahead of what we had predicted. And so we're excited that we're having additional resources, people willing to become police officers. And currently, as the mayor stated, we just started a class last week. We'll start another one next month, and an additional class the month after that, putting us back on the trajectory of where we were even pre-pandemic. So the efforts to make sure that this city remains safe shows in the work and the dedication of the men and women of this police department, shows in our effort of recruitment, shows in the support that we get from this mayor's office. Additionally, as we begin to get into the spring and our summer, I presented the mayor our spring and summer plan just last week. And since even that time, there have been efforts for us to change and increase some of the activities that we'll be doing to ensure that our parks remain safe. One of the things that you will see is more of our mounted patrols inside the parks. We'll be going to council and having conversation with the mayor's office as it relates to bringing more reserve officers and our recruitment efforts and bringing retired people back to work in our parks and our belt line. We believe that these efforts will put more police resources back out on the street and make our community feel much safer. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
All right, are there any questions?
Mayor, you said 72% of homicides ended in arrest. Is that a year-over-year period? Is that since the beginning of this year? What's the time frame on that?
Well, actually, I'd like for Chief, would you want to speak more on that, Chief Hampton?
Again, good morning. So that 72% clearance rate is the cases cleared for 2022 thus far for homicides. Yes.
Chief Hampton, I have a question. Can we talk a little bit about some of the high-profile cases? Any latest on the Piedmont Park murder, and also with Chief, we were talking about the Beltline shooting and the two other people. I know Brandon Williams is believed to be the shooter, but what part do you guys right now believe the two other people you were searching for played?
Well, like any investigation, obviously we don't like to talk much about in the media. We know that Brandon Williams is our shooter. The involvement of the other people it will be part of the investigation. Just again, being present, being around is enough to convict someone because again, everyone has a responsibility to do the right thing. And so when you see someone doing wrong, at that time you have the responsibility to stop actions or doing the right thing and saying, hey, I know what happened. When we get involved, as Chief Bryant said, we're going to do our part to bring everyone that has any type of role in these investigations to justice. Now, you mentioned about the Piedmont Park. Again, that is still an ongoing investigation. Right now, it has primarily shifted to a forensic investigation where we are relying on the science and the technology. Investigations take time. We've been fortunate to get some of these high-profile cases solved in days and weeks. And then there are other cases that, again, our team continues to work diligently to bring people responsible to justice. But it takes time. Does not mean that we're not working. We continue to work with the FBI in this case. We meet with them weekly on this investigation. So this is still active. We still continue to get leads that we will continue to follow up on.
At last check, we were at 33 homicides since the start of the year, which I think is above last year and the year before that. Is there anything being done to prevent these killings on the front end as opposed to, solving them once they've been committed? Is there anything we can do?
Again, we're trying to educate everyone. As we found out, about 41% of these cases are escalating disputes. And Chief talks about that many times. We're asking people, again, to resolve your conflicts in a peaceful way. Sometimes that means walking away. And so some of these instances, again, even if we had cops on every street, some of these instances we would not be able to prevent. We need people to be human beings, treat one another with love and respect, put the guns down, and resolve these conflicts peacefully. But again, as the mayor has said, as Chief Bryant has said, if you continue to decide to do these types of crimes in our city, our homicide team, our aggravated assault teams are going to do what we do and bring individuals to justice so they can pay for these instances.
Mayor Dickens mentioned deterrence to street racing. We saw what happened at the Rainbow Crosswalk, and he said the crosswalk is this symbol of hope for Atlanta. Well, the metal plates are not. Is that the kind of deterrent you're talking about? And what else can we do to curb that?
Yeah, so the metal plates were put down as a temporary remedy. We did eliminate the street racing from occurring back to back. It's definitely not a permanent solution, and it's not the ideal solution long term. But what we did want to do was make sure that they didn't continue to do donuts and race on top of that crosswalk. So for this temporary period, that's what we have. But as Chief has mentioned, we're working together with GSP, Georgia State Patrol, and we have units out going around to make sure that street racing is stopped, and we have a $1,000 fine for individuals that commit it. We also put cameras on that corner and license plate readers, so if they come back, which they should know now, you should not come back and try this again, because we have license plate readers that will track you down. So those are the deterrents that are in place.
Chief, could you give us an understanding of how much of your energy is consumed by street racing? I mean, I imagine you could allocate these resources in much better ways if people weren't tearing up the road.
Absolutely. But again, street racing is just as important to address in the city of Atlanta and throughout the region as any other crime. And the reason being is, and oftentimes when we get these street races, they too have weapons on them, illegal weapons on them. But the act of it is so dangerous, and I think that that's what people miss. It's the equivalent, it's literally the equivalent of someone just taking a weapon and firing it indiscriminately in a crowd. Just because you have not hit someone doesn't mean that you won't. And so it is important upon us to address street racing just like any other crime. Though it may come across to those as just a quality of life issue, that's not the way that we see it. The very moment that one of those cars spin out of control and take the lives of some of our kids that are out there watching that, then people will see us responding and request that we respond differently. The street, as the mayor stated, the plates that were laid down on the street is just one step to augment a situation. We've used many different strategies to try to address this as well, and we'll continue to do so until we get the right solution and this is eliminated.
Chief, what are you observing in terms of crime trends? Are the criminals trending younger? And to that, can you speak to the status of the chief youth officer that has been talked about? Is there any movement of hiring that person, and how would that help?
So that part will be on the mayor, but I'll tell you this, what we're seeing, again, the level of conflict, just personal conflict, continues. And this is something that is very concerning because that act is very indiscriminate. It does. This could be any two people who meet at a gas station, which we've had, don't know each other, and get into an argument, and it turns into gunfire. One of the things that we continue to see that is unlike what we've seen before is almost every single person, the victim and the perpetrator, will have a weapon on them at the time. Meaning this, we are seeing a proliferation of weaponry inside the communities and as it relates to the people that are involved in these shootings. As it relates to the age, the people being younger or older, again, we go through those waves since the beginning of time. Youthful offenders are a problem and something that we wish that we can intercede in much earlier. We will be able to do that utilizing many of our programs that we already have in place now that we're getting back to a more normal way of responding. So we will utilize our PAL program, our At Promise program. We'll continue to try to direct kids to those types of resources to get them off of the street. We're also looking at doing nighttime basketball through our police athletic league. We think that those alternatives will allow us to not only build a relationship with these kids, but also give them something else to do.
The 72% homicide rate is good, but I'd be more interested in last year. What was the homicide clearance rate for 2020?
Well, I'll let Chief Hampton speak specifically to that, but as it was stated earlier, we continue to have a significant clearance rate year over year. The City of Atlanta homicide team stays at the top of clearing and homicide investigation. Our direct number is,
Even last year, it was roughly around 70%.
So we only have time for the mayor to answer the question related to the youth leader, and we'll be done. Thank you.
Yeah, as Chief stated, we're starting a number of programs, and we are going to move forward getting someone, it's not necessarily going to be called a chief youth officer, but as you intended to say, is someone that's looking at all of youth activities. So that's why our Parks and Rec department, we're starting midnight basketball. It starts at 7:30 p.m. and goes to throughout the night, and you can sign up right now by going to any Parks and Rec or to our Police Athletic League to sign sign up your youth. We did this back in 2018, 2019, and it really kept kids off the street and gave them a lot of activities that they were interested in at halftime of these games. You're learning a lot about job fairs, about opportunities to, good enrichment. We give games, prizes, music, etc. We're also preparing for our summer jobs program for youth. We're really going to double our efforts to make sure that these youth have a great summer filled with internships, apprenticeships, jobs that pay. Jobs that pay them to be able to, have a great summer, that they can put money in their pocket, that they also can go out there and learn a new skill that they want to become an architect, an engineer, or a lawyer. These kind of places are offering themselves up to us as we go out and ask businesses to participate in our youth development. And we have other announcements along the way that I'll be making soon about our youth programming. But there's a number of things that we're going to be doing to make sure that youth have a pathway to opportunities that will keep them positive.
All right,
All right,
thank
take
you,
care.
everyone. Thank you.
Overhead. And we're Atlanta's traffic expert.
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time, every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
News happens fast. Stream it faster. 11 Alive News is now on Roku. Stream live newscast.
We begin tonight with breaking news.
And watch on demand. We are tracking severe storms. 11 Alive News. Stream now on Roku.
11 Alive News Verify. It's where you see viral claims put under the microscope.
This Facebook post is all over the internet, but is it true?
Where the fight against bad information begins with your good question.
Laura from Marietta asks, can this program...
And where the experts read between the lies.
The fine print shows this isn't real.
11 Alive News Verify, where you know what's fact and what's fiction. Watch weekdays at 5, 6, and 11 p.m.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge.
He is a character in his own self. He's just my miracle child. And I treated him like he was a miracle and that he was loved every single day. I can remember that day like it was yesterday.
How could this happen?
A lot of parents are burying their children. People always say black people don't do that. Yes, here's a picture.
A Different Cry, now streaming on Roku and Fire TV.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now...
Where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. Where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow. 11 Alive Morning News.
We began with breaking news this morning.
Is where you know what's happening now.
11 Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead.
This severe weather is intensifying.
By knowing what's coming overhead. And we're Atlanta's traffic expert.
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of
helps you get there on time, every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
News happens fast. Stream it faster. 11 Alive News is now on Roku. Stream live newscast.
We begin tonight with breaking news.
And watch on demand. We are tracking severe storms. 11 Alive News. Stream now on Roku.
11 Alive News Verify. It's where you see viral claims put under the microscope.
This Facebook post is all over the internet, but is it true?
Where the fight against bad information begins with your good question.
Laura from Marietta asks, can this program...
And where the experts read between the lies.
The fine print shows this isn't real.
11 Alive News Verify, where you know what's fact and what's fiction. Watch weekdays at 5, 6, and 11 p.m.
Weather can't run from the 11 Alive Thunder Truck. A mobile weather center with the power and speed to chase down the strongest storms and bring you on-the-ground conditions. The 11 Alive Thunder Truck, sponsored by Landmark Dodge.
He is a character in his own self. He's just my miracle child. And I treated him like he was a miracle and that he was loved every single day. I can remember that day like it was yesterday.
How could this happen?
A lot of parents are burying their children. People always say black people don't do that. Yes, here's a picture.
A Different Cry, now streaming on Roku and Fire TV.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. is where you find out what's happening now across Metro Atlanta.
We begin tonight with breaking news out of Cobb County, where a neighborhood is now...
Where you stay a step ahead of severe weather.
Our storm risk has now been upgraded to a...
And the only place where you can verify fact versus fiction.
11 Alive can verify that claim is false.
11 Alive News at 11 p.m. Where you end the day ready to take on tomorrow. 11 Alive Morning News.
We began with breaking news this morning.
Is where you know what's happening now.
11 Alive is live on the scene.
Where you can confidently plan ahead.
This severe weather is intensifying.
By knowing what's coming overhead. And where Atlanta's traffic expert...
We've seen delays almost 30 minutes worth of...
...helps you get there on time. Every time. 11 Alive Morning News is where you start the day prepared. Watch weekdays 5 to 7 a.m.
News happens fast. Stream it faster. 11 Alive News is now on